$500,000 sounds like a lifetime of security until you do the math. Because hidden behind that comforting number is a reality most people never see coming. It might only give you about $1,667 a month, and whether that leads to freedom or financial stress depends on a few surprising decisions almost nobody talks about. A number stopped me cold the other day. $500,000. For years, that number has lived in the back of my mind as a kind of finish line. The number of people who talk about it after decades of work. The nest egg you build slowly, paycheck after paycheck, believing that one day it will finally buy you something priceless: freedom from work. But here's the strange part. $500,000 sounds like a lifetime of security until you actually run the numbers. Because hidden behind that comforting number is a reality most people never see coming. If you follow a common retirement guideline, that amount might only produce about $1,667 a month. And whether that becomes a comfortable retirement or a financial struggle depends on a few decisions most people never think about. If you enjoy exploring ideas about money, retirement, and building a more secure future, welcome to the channel. Consider subscribing so you don't miss future conversations like this. Now, the question that pulled me into this entire rabbit hole was simple. How does $500,000 turn into $1,667 a month? The answer comes from something that has quietly shaped retirement planning for decades: the 4% rule. Back in 1994, #Meta Sex, a financial planner named William Bengen studied historical market data stretching across some of the most difficult economic periods in American history, from the Great Depression to modern financial crises. His goal was to answer a question retirees constantly worry about: how much money can you withdraw each year without running out? His conclusion became the foundation of modern retirement advice. If someone withdraws about 4% of their portfolio in the first year of retirement, then adjust savings historically have a good chance of lasting about 30 years. When I applied that formula to the number that started this whole investigation, $500, zero math became unavoidable. 4% of that is $20 a year, which amounts to approximately $1.06 per month. And when I first saw that number written out so plainly, I didn't feel like a retirement plan. It felt more like a wake-up call. Because for many people, a lifetime of saving might translate into an income that feels surprisingly modest. But that realization also opened the door to something important. Retirement income doesn't usually come from investments alone. And that leads to the next piece of the puzzle: Social Security. When I started looking at those numbers, Sex, what struck me wasn't just the benefit itself, but how dramatically it changes the retirement picture. Two people can retire with the exact same savings and end up living completely different retirements depending on this one factor. Take someone who spent most of their career earning around $30 a year. Their Social Security benefit might be roughly $1, $400 per month. Combine that with income from a $500 $0 portfolio, and they're living on a little over $3 $0 per month. Manageable, but tight. Now imagine someone who earned closer to $60 through their career. Their benefit might land near $1, $900 per month, pushing their total monthly income into a noticeably more comfortable range. And for higher earners who consistently paid the maximum Social Security taxes, benefits can reach around $3, $200 a month. Same savings. Completely different retirement. That's when it really hit me. Retirement math isn't just about what you saved. It's about how many income streams quietly support you when the paycheck stops. And once I started thinking about income more clearly, another realization surfaced: how far that income. I began comparing retirement budgets across different cities, and the contrast was almost shocking. In places like New York City, a modest apartment can absorb most of a retiree's monthly income before groceries, transportation, or healthcare even enter the picture. Living there on a fixed retirement budget can feel like walking a financial tightrope. But move to a smaller city, somewhere like Knoxville, Tennessee, and the equation suddenly changes. Housing becomes dramatically cheaper. Everyday costs shrink. A retirement that once looked restrictive suddenly feels far more manageable. The money didn't change at all. Only the location did. And that made me realize something profound about retirement planning. Sometimes the most powerful financial decision isn't about earning more money. It's about choosing where your money can actually breathe. But as I kept digging into retirement costs, I ran into another reality that felt even more unsettling than housing prices. Healthcare. This was the moment the numbers started to feel personal. Because if someone retires at 60, before Medicare begins at 65, they're likely paying for private health insurance. The average premium alone can approach $950 per month, before deductibles or unexpected medical bills even enter the conversation. In some years, meta, healthcare costs alone can swallow most of the income produced by a modest retirement portfolio. Even after Medicare begins, also expenses don't disappear. Premiums, prescriptions, and supplemental plans still add up month after month. That realization was sobering. Retirement planning isn't just about saving for life, it's about preparing for the cost of staying healthy long enough to enjoy it. And just when I thought I understood the major expenses of retirement, another quiet force entered the picture. Inflation. Inflation doesn't arrive dramatically. It moves slowly, almost invisibly, year after year. A budget that feels manageable today can quietly become much heavier a decade later. Groceries rise, utilities rise, housing costs rise. A monthly lifestyle that costs around $3, $500 today might require nearly $5, 10 years, and far more decades down the road. That's why simply leaving retirement savings sitting in low-growth accounts can slowly erode financial security. In many cases, retirement money needs to keep working, even after retirement begins. Otherwise, #meta, pause. The future quietly becomes more expensive than we ever planned for. #meta, pause. And while inflation slowly reshapes the future, there's another factor that can damage retirement far more quickly: debt. The more I looked at real retirement budgets, the clearer this became. Two people can retire with identical savings and identical income, yet live completely different lives depending on whether they still owe money. Someone who enters retirement debt-free, no mortgage, no car payments, no lingering credit cards, often finds their monthly income stretches further than expected. They have flexibility, breathing room, in far less stress. But someone carrying large payments into retirement faces a very different reality. Fixed obligations eat into a limited income, and savings can begin disappearing faster than anyone planned. That's when it struck me. Retirement isn't just about how much you save. It's also about how much of your past financial life you carry forward into it. And after stepping back and looking at all these pieces together, I started seeing retirement in a completely different way. At first, I thought the question was simple. Is $500, 000 enough? But the deeper I looked, the more that question started to feel incomplete. Retirement isn't determined by one number sitting in an account. It's shaped by a web of choices: where you live, it's how healthy you invest, and what financial obligations you bring with you. That surprised me most was that many Americans retire with far less saved, yet some still manage to build stable lives afterward, which made me realize something quietly powerful. Retirement success isn't defined only by the size of your savings. It's defined by how intentionally you design your life around it. Looking back at everything we explored, the real lesson becomes clear. Retirement isn't just a financial milestone. It's a series of decisions made over time. The way you manage debt today, the places you choose to live, the habits you build around saving and investing. All of those choices quietly shape the freedom you'll feel decades from now. When you start thinking about retirement not as a distant number, but as a life you're designing piece by piece, the entire conversation changes. So I'm curious about your perspective. Out of everything we talked about, income, location, healthcare, investing, or debt, which factor do you think has the biggest impact on retirement? Share your thoughts in the comments so everyone can learn from different viewpoints. And if conversations like this help you think differently about money and the future, consider subscribing to the channel. Your support helps keep these discussions going and motivates us to create more thoughtful videos ahead.